कोई अगर फ्रॉम स्क्रैच प्रैक्टिस शुरू कर रहा है तो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज इन द सीए इंडस्ट्री इज दैट फर्स्ट या सेकंड क्लाइंट, जो फर्स्ट टू क्लाइंट्स होते हैं वो कैसे अक्वायर करे.
You are basically providing solutions. Start talking about technical topics. The best way to make yourself known is by...
When I was doing my articleship, one of the clients wanted a very expert tax opinion, and our partner, I think he had an experience of 40 plus years. He had charged a total of 1.5 lakhs at that point in time, and he had like spent half a day on that just reviewing everything, and also that was money for his experience.
Experience and intellect.
Yeah.
I remember Kushal, income tax department हम लोग जाते थे. 11 o'clock was the hearing. I would show up at 10:55. Wait there till 11:10. If the officer doesn't call me inside, I'll leave a note. I was here, sir. Waiting for you. I need to go for another appointment. 2 बार वो कीजिए, वो चिढ़ेगा लेकिन next time आपको 11 बजे अंदर लेके जाएगा. Don't waste my time, boss. I am not free.
What would be the unit economics of a CA firm look like? Like 100 is the revenue, 20-25 is the payroll cost. What are the other costs, and usually how much is the profit margin?
So 50%. As you grow, the 50-55 will start going down. And also it depends the size and scale, right?
Is there any framework that you suggest कि आपके 4 partners अगर शुरू कर रहे हैं तो profit sharing ratio इतना होना चाहिए?
What you're really asking is compensation. Doesn't have to be equal always. Equal ratios don't work for too long. You may be the best out of the 4 of us. How can I say I should get equal as you?
Yep. If let's say someone wants to start their CA practice, according to you, how much capital should they need? वीडियो देखने से पहले मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है आप सबसे. मैं YouTube एनालिटिक्स देख रहा था एंड वहाँ पर देखा कि 82.6% ऑफ माई ऑडियंस हु इज वाचिंग दिस कंटेंट हैज़ नॉट सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल. अगर मैंने आपको थोड़ी सी वैल्यू प्रोवाइड की होगी एंड आपको अगर कंटेंट बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू प्लीज हिट द सब्सक्राइब बटन सो दैट वी कैन ब्रिंग यू द बेस्ट क्वालिटी ऑफ गेस्ट एंड गिव यू द मैक्सिमम वैल्यू पॉसिबल. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर सब्सक्राइबिंग टू आवर चैनल एंड एंजॉय दिस एंटायर एपिसोड ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद कुशल. हाय वैभव, वेलकम टू कॉन्वर्सेशन विद कुशल. कैसे हो आप?
बहुत अच्छा हूँ कुशल. थैंक यू फॉर इन्वाइटिंग मी. लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू शेयरिंग अ फ्यू थिंग्स दैट आई हैव लर्नड, बट थैंक यू. और मैं चाहता हूँ कि हम एक खुला कॉन्वर्सेशन रखें.
Yes.
मुझे आपको जो पूछना है प्लीज़ पूछिए. जितना मुझे पता है उससे ज़्यादा ही ट्राई करूँगा बोलने की. बट थैंक यू फॉर इन्वाइटिंग.
डन. नहीं, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर डूइंग दिस. मैं आपको एक इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी बताना चाहूँगा. जब बिफोर वी स्टार्ट द कॉन्वर्जेशन, मैं जब आर्टिकलशिप कर रहा था, मैंने कम से कम 3 या 4 बार अप्लाई किया होगा KNAV में. एंड मुझे ऑफकोर्स मैं कभी जा नहीं पाया बिकॉज आपके स्टेचर वो बहुत ये था कि ओके आर्टिकलशिप के लिए ये चाहिए वगैरह वगैरह. बट टुडे आई एम फीलिंग सो ऑनर्ड एंड सो हैप्पी दैट KNAV के जो एक पार्टनर है वो उनको मैं आज होस्ट कर पा रहा हूँ. एंड आई एम फीलिंग वेरी हैप्पी कि जो फर्म में मेरा ड्रीम था जाने का, आज मैं उनके पार्टनर के साथ इंटरेक्ट कर रहा हूँ.
Thank you for that. I am feeling a sense of loss that our process, I don't know what that process was back in the day that we could not get you, but I am sure वो बोलते हैं ना कि जर्नी में कहीं ना कहीं तो मुलाकात हो ही जाती है. एंड दिस इज अ स्ट्रॉन्गर बॉन्ड. बट थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग.
नहीं, डेफिनेटली. मेरे को आज भी याद है, मैं एक हॉस्टल में रहता था बाय द वे, RVG हॉस्टल जो अंधेरी में. वहाँ पर सिर्फ एक लड़के का सिलेक्शन हुआ था KNAV में, एंड वो इतना पॉपुलर हो गया था हॉस्टल में बिकॉज ही गॉट सिलेक्टेड इन KNAV. एंड वो आई थिंक वैल्यूएशन डिपार्टमेंट, सिर्फ वैल्यूएशन डिपार्टमेंट में यूजुअली आर्टिकलशिप नहीं मिलती थी. ही वॉज द ओनली आर्टिकल इन द एंटायर हॉस्टल हु गॉट इनटू वैल्यूएशन डिपार्टमेंट. तो काफ़ी मतलब पूरे हॉस्टल में फैल गया था एंड ही बिकेम वेरी पॉपुलर बिकॉज ऑफ दैट. तो दोज डेज लाइक इट रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ KNAV एज वेल, माई हॉस्टल डेज. सो चलो ये पॉडकास्ट इसके लिए रखेगी लाइक जिसको भी CA प्रैक्टिस शुरू करनी है एंड ग्रो करनी है उनके लिए रखेंगे. तो आपकी जर्नी में से भी आप थोड़े एनेक्डोट शेयर करो कि आपने कैसे ग्रो किया. एंड क्वेश्चन वुड बी मोर फ्रॉम द लेंस ऑफ समवन हु वांट्स टू स्टार्ट द प्रैक्टिस. तो सबसे सिंपल क्वेश्चन है, अभी किसी को अगर CA की प्रैक्टिस शुरू करनी है, अभी वो जस्ट CA बन गया है एंड दे वांट टू स्टार्ट देयर ओन प्रैक्टिस, उन्होंने प्लानिंग कैसे करनी चाहिए एंड हाउ शुड दे गो अहेड अबाउट लॉन्चिंग देयर ओन प्रैक्टिस फ्रॉम स्क्रैच?
ग्रेट क्वेश्चन कुशल. सबसे पहली बात, देयर इज़ नो बेटर टाइम देन टुडे टू स्टार्ट योर प्रैक्टिस. और ये मैं बहुत वेरी क्लियर थॉट में, क्लियर माइंड से मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ कि देयर इज़ अ लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड विच नेवर एग्जिस्टेड. एंड द रीज़न आई से दैट इज देयर आर सो मेनी एरियाज दैट फ्रेश क्वालिफाइड चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, freshly qualified chartered accountants can specialize today. Let me take one example, GST. GST एक ऐसा एरिया है that once a article trainee, even during his articleship और CA final exam देने के बाद, अगर 2-2.5 साल 3 साल, अब तो 2 साल की आर्टिकलशिप है, अगर GST पे फोकस किया तो यू कैन प्रैक्टिस फ्रॉम डे 1. एंड people are suffering in different ways. Today at least the portals are better. GST काफ़ी क्लैरिटी आ गई, but still compliance is not easy in this country. So GST की practice as one example, it's a fantastic practice if somebody wants to focus on it. और ये मैं 3-4 बार बोलूँगा during the conversation कि chartered accountants, especially freshly qualified, you have to remember one word: focus. I cannot overemphasize that word. It is not required and it is not perhaps necessary to do everything. आज अगर हम जसप्रीत बुमराह को बोले कि आप बैटिंग ओपन भी करो, आप विकेट कीपर भी बन जाओ, फिर आप फील्डिंग भी करो और फिर बॉलिंग भी करो, he won't be as effective. You have to keep him fresh. Rohit Sharma is giving 4-4, 5-5 overs in the Australia series. And the reason is he is one of the best bowlers, perhaps one of the greatest of all time is what people are saying. But he is focusing on that one thing. He has built himself to be a bowler and then a good bowler. He has become better. He's become a great bowler. He's a wicket-taking bowler. Similarly, any professional, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a chartered accountant, I think you focus on doing the one thing and try and keep getting better and better and better, such that you then become the best in your field and people seek you out. And in the accounting profession, हम सब कुछ नहीं कर सकते. मुझे ऑडिट भी करना है, मुझे इनकम टैक्स भी करना है, मुझे जीएसटी भी करना है, मुझे कंसल्टिंग भी करना है, वो नहीं हो सकता. इट टेक्स 20-30 साल लग जाते हैं to master 1 or 2 areas. उसमें भी it's very complicated. So income tax, the law keeps changing. Every budget there is a new change. The rules keep coming out throughout the year. Abhi they are talking about direct tax code, right? So for a chartered accountant, GST is one example I took. Income tax is an amazing practice area. Now within income tax, you can specialize in transfer pricing, international tax, domestic tax, combination of 1 or 2 or 3, but itself it's an ocean. So the way I would answer it is, I should examine for myself as a freshly qualified CA, where is my calling? What do I want to do? Not what he is doing, not what XYZ is doing, not what ABC is doing. What am I good at? I should be able to find that purpose. And in my 2 years of articleship, prior to this 3 years of articleship, having done my final exams, I should know where my purpose is. Am I a great auditor? Do I like accounting? Do I like taxation? In taxation, what do I like? Do I like to advise people? Am I in consulting? So I have to choose that. Once I choose that, then keep going at it. So that is the first fundamental principle. You know, when we say first principles, this is the first thing that I have to keep in mind. What do I want to do?
तो इसमें एक बात बताओ, जैसे you say that focus is something which is very important. So if someone wants to be a generalist and let's say have a practice of taxation plus auditing plus valuations plus like everything, so would you suggest कि okay पहले एक को expertise करो, एक पकड़ो and then double down on other services?
Add partners. So you can do that. See, think of a polyclinic. I'll take another example. मैं क्रिकेट का बोला भी हॉस्पिटल देखिए. Will a patient go to a heart surgeon for operating his kidney? मतलब किडनी के लिए मैं किडनी वाले के पास जाऊँगा और किडनी सर्जन को ये नहीं बोल सकता मेरे हार्ट में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है आप देख लीजिए, राइट? इट्स अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ स्पेशलाइजेशन. What has happened is over time, whether it's valuation that you mentioned, whether it's audit you mentioned, even a general practitioner, slowly but surely is becoming redundant. आज आप how many times do you go to a general practitioner doctor? If you have a problem, orthopedic issue, so you'll go to orthopedic surgeon or orthopedic guy. You'll not go to an MBBS saying that please help me with this. He say एक minute, there's a problem I know, but please go to him. मुझे आज throat problem है, congestion, I'll go to a normal guy. But then he'll say एक minute, yeah, you go to an ENT. So the world is moving in accounting profession to specialists. People who can go deeper than the normal because normal conversation तो मुझे AI में मिलता है, chat GPT पे डालोगे तो आंसर तो मिल जाएगा. वो right है, wrong है, कितना in depth है, nobody knows. Google gives you a lot of things. Clear Tax will give you all your tax answers. Today, at the end of the day, internet gives you 70, 80, 90%. But sometimes it can be way off the mark. So you need to go to a specialist. So I'm not saying don't be a generalist. But if you want to do everything, then please add like-minded fellow professionals. Get a guy who's very passionate about audit. उसको बोलो आप audit कीजिए. Get somebody in tax if you are doing just income tax के लिए बंदा लाइए. And that's how you grow.
That reminds me of Mr. Nani Palkhiwala as well. He focused only on one of the sections in the Income Tax Act. तो उनकी पूरी लॉ की प्रैक्टिस जो थी, that was on section 37 subsection 1. सेक्शन में भी एक सबसेक्शन एंड उस पे उन्होंने पूरा इतना मतलब होल्ड और एक्सपर्टीज कर लिया था कि any case on that section has to go to him. Correct. So like that is a perfect example of why should you specialize and focus on a niche.
And see, what happens is this, right? You are in the profession of trust. People trust you for good advice, for sound advice. You can start giving proper advice only when you have that experience along with the expertise. So the chartered accountancy qualification, thankfully, because of articleship, gives you a lot of practical knowledge. But now you have to keep getting better and better. Keep finding more and more instances. वो कब होगा? When you can give time to it. The moment you spread yourself too thin, तो आप इतना ही time दे पाएंगे. Because at the end of the day, audit is demanding, income tax is demanding, everything is demanding. So therefore, focus on one thing and keep adding services with other people. That's the way to think.
Correct.
Because you'll get the depth of the experience that will give you, make you better and better.
करेक्ट, एब्सोल्युटली. इसमें अभी जैसे कोई अगर फ्रॉम स्क्रैच प्रैक्टिस शुरू कर रहा है तो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज इन द सीए इंडस्ट्री इज दैट एक्वायरिंग योर फर्स्ट क्लाइंट, बिकॉज एज पर प्रोफेशनल एथिक्स वी आर नॉट अलाउड टू मार्केट आवरसेल्व्स, आवर सीए फर्म्स. सो व्हाट डू यू एडवाइस समवन जो अभी जस्ट सीए प्रैक्टिस शुरू की है, तो फर्स्ट या सेकंड क्लाइंट जो फर्स्ट 2 क्लाइंट्स होते हैं वो कैसे एक्वायर करे एंड क्या कैसे उनको पिच करे आपके हिसाब से?
You don't have to pitch.
Okay.
There is no selling required in the profession.
Okay.
We are not selling a mobile phone. You are basically providing solutions. So the first thing is start writing about it. लिखिए आप. LinkedIn allows you to write in short summaries and give your documents. Start talking about technical topics. The best way to make yourself known is by marketing. And marketing of professional services is allowed. The Institute of Chartered Accountants does not say you can't market your services. In a code of conduct ethical way, which means you basically write, you speak, go to conferences. If you show up at conferences, you'll start becoming visible. You ask questions. As you start getting technical, people will invite you to speak. Start with study circles. Go to chambers. Go to Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. Go to ICI. There are a lot of events, right? And people are looking out for good speakers. So पहले आप छोटे ग्रुप में कीजिए, in your societies, in your local study circles. Then you go to the institute and BCAs and chambers. Go to their events, regional events, local events. Then go to national events. Go to international events. So writing. But remember, when I say writing, Kushal, is very important. You can't just write basic stuff to give your opinion, to give your views. If there's a judgment that has come in GST or income tax or even in accounting opinion that has come, you have to dissect it and give your views, independent views. People read that. This is content, right? Now, how you publish that content? There are prescribed rules. LinkedIn is one of the easiest way, low cost way. Start talking about that. People will come to you for advice. Regular chartered accountants, CFOs, people who read it will say, अच्छा, what do you think, Kushal, ये आपने लिखा है, ये view में इसमें can it be a different view? Can you help me? Or that's how you get clients. So that is one way. There's no need to pitch. Automatic. It's people will come to you. Second is once you're a chartered accountant, you know at least enough people who will know कि अच्छा ये CA बना है, चलो इससे काम करवाते हैं. Friends and family से शुरू होके network effect हो जाता है. Remember the concept of network effect is very understated in the profession. It is 99% word of mouth and referral. You basically, because it's a trusted advice, see, you don't go to a doctor because you see a board, right? You will not change your doctor. Similarly, people don't change chartered accountants or lawyers. One, because there's an element of trust. Now, that trust takes time to build. You start small, okay? Use that time for researching, for making yourself better, and you will keep getting clients because you're writing more. Very few people write, and usme bhi very few people speak. So, if you can do 1 and 2, and speak means speak clearly, speak simple topics, and then give variations, give opinions around it, so that people will say, this guy is consistent, I want to talk to him. See, that's where work will come. Believe me, there is no monopoly of big firms or medium firms or small firms. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. If you know your subject, people come to you. Because it's knowledge game. You are in knowledge business. And then clients एक दो क्यों? आपको 10 client आ जाएंगे. You should have a unique differentiator in what you are saying. So let's say again, I'm taking the GST example again, and believe me, I don't practice GST myself, but still I love the subject because I feel there's a lot of supply chain efficiencies that problems have got solved. It's becoming a very interesting piece and it's technical, right? So if I have exposure in that area, can I, make a difference by studying the supply chain of businesses and say, here is how throughput should happen, input rate should be this way, here is how I plan and efficiently, create a scheme such that GST can be optimized. Which state, how should the billing happen? Now there are rules for each of that, right? When do you do your invoicing? What is the right way to do airway bill? What is e-invoicing? How does it happen? So you can automate and you can, using technology, help businesses to be better and better and better. Compliances can be automated today. There are technologies available. It's a question of application of mind. So I would say a freshly qualified chartered accountant has a clean slate. You're not coming with a baggage. A very senior chartered accountant will have baggage of service tax, income tax, old ways of doing it. He's also learning. So you are straight away coming with technology. Remember, all our young chartered accountants are watching this. You guys know technology is the best. You have started with technology. Some of us back in the day didn't have a mobile phone. Mobile phone तो आया, हमने practice शुरू की उसके 10-15 साल के बाद. We didn't have computers. So we come from manual world and then we learn technology. Thankfully, we could do it well simply because we were exposed to it. But today, for the younger chartered accountants freshly qualified, you have a amazing moat. You understand law, you understand the theory of it, you've done some practice, and you understand technology. If you just apply all of this together, you have a winning combination, and then clients have to come. कहाँ जाएंगे?
तो आपने कैसे किए थे starting में acquire, like through these things only that you mentioned, or it was?
So we
something
started
different?
speaking. Okay, very simple. We said ये हमें इतना ही आता है. Let's start talking about it. तभी LinkedIn नहीं था when I started the firm, but we started coming with newsletters, speaking, meeting people. When you meet people, when you have coffee conversations, if you know your subject, people will keep asking you questions. They say, "Can you help me?" Of course, this is what we can do for you. That's how you develop plan. There's no rocket science. It's very basic. It's about knowledge.
मैंने कहाँ पे तो भी पढ़ा था कि you already had some 18 clients in the first year when you started operations.
Yeah. No, so see, what happens is this. Our model was very simple. Give something which is not easily available here. See, if you go to a lawyer, right, and I'll always take the example of, of dispute lawyers, right, and look at this Netflix पे suits आप देखोगे. People like Harvey Specter because of his style, his way of closing things, right? It's execution. Similarly, in the accounting field, you should know how to execute a project. Be it an audit. Audit doesn't have to be thankless job and thousands of hours. You can do it smartly, efficiently. It's about documentation. It's about risk. It's about understanding how to document. It's about understanding the risk, understanding what is required as per the auditing standards. And wo basic technical is always the same. But can you use AI? Can you use technology? Can you use tools and do a more efficient audit in a faster way and much more comprehensive, and yet make it an enjoyable process? Not, यार वो बोलेगा क्यों auditor आते हैं office में? And you also feel यार ये audit, this client is becoming thankless. So make it easy for all by asking the right questions where he'll also learn, and you're catching the right things, asking the right questions. So it's all about then basically focusing on that one thing. Don't try to be an all-rounder. कपिल देव एक या दो ही थे अपने कंट्री में. There are all-rounders, but वो बहुत कम लोग कर सकते. Stick to one and be the best at it. तो auditing में I have met auditors who are so passionate. They know their accounting standards so well. They keep technically researching auditing standards. They so know well. They keep discussing and they make the client comfortable. That look, what you're doing is wrong. This is the way to do. And good clients, good CFOs, good audit committees will respect that. See, you have to be fearless. मैंने focus word use किया. The second word I want to use is be fearless in your profession. Okay, I learned it from my seniors when I grew up, did my articleship. You have to be absolutely fearless at the risk of losing the client. It doesn't matter. एक जाएंगे, तीन और आ जाएंगे. Okay, do the right thing always. Doing the right thing is not an option. So if you're giving an opinion or on the side of caution, please be very clear of what is the answer. Don't say this is deduction allowed in tax because you want to please the client. Tell them, sorry, this is not going to be acceptable. Don't take a deduction. This is not allowed. Sorry, accounting, revenue recognition. This is the only way you recognize revenue. There's no other way. GMV is not revenue. You have to educate the clients. So ये सारा जो चीज़ है, as part of an auditing process, part of training process, you got to be absolutely clear in your thinking, in your thought. And once that happens, people start respecting your views.
Right.
That is the easiest way to kind of grow your practice, grow yourself as a professional, and then you are doing your best to serve the nation as a chartered accountant, as a practicing chartered accountant, because it's your duty. See, the financial and financial world looks up to us as auditors. Our signatures carry a lot of weight. Even when we sign a tax audit report, contrary to what people may say, it carries a lot of weight. GST certification. Why is the accounting profession asked to attest so many things? See, think about it. Not many professions in the world have to sign up things. So your signature is everything. So when you're putting your signature, have that professional skepticism. और वो अगर आपने समझ लिया और वो सीख लिया ना, the world is yours. And don't have to rush, don't have to run. There's no midnight discussion required every day. Stick to normal hours, but do qualitative work. And that's how you start growing. So this basic thing, first principles, focus, fearless.
Yeah, the two F's which everyone needs to keep in mind, focus and fearless. तो अभी let's say किसी ने अभी practice शुरू कर ली है and they have just started, there are like a few partners. तो इसमें अभी कौन से टाइप की सर्विसेज को वो लोग कितना चार्ज कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज दे आर क्लूलेस, अभी नए नए प्रैक्टिस शुरू की है, कितना चार्ज करना, क्या करना, वो सब पता ही नहीं है किसी को. सो कैन यू जस्ट गिव अस अ ब्रॉड एस्टिमेट ऑफ द रेंज विच पीपल कैन चार्ज वंस दे सेट अप अ प्रैक्टिस फॉर डिफरेंट डोमेन्स विच आर
See,
देयर.
what happens is this: in our profession, there are certain services where you have a fixed fee, like an audit. You have to have an audit fee, audit remuneration. Engagement letter में fix होता है, अभी उसमें range होता है. So there is no one size fits all. The larger firms have very large fees. Mid-size firm have mid fees.
कितना
Smaller
होगा,
firms.
क्या रेंज होगा?
No, so it depends on. Frankly, it's the other way around. Who is the auditee? Who are you auditing? How complex is that organization? How large is that organization? If it's a small startup company, the fees will be very low. The moment the complexity increases, the time. See, it's given. It's also about the time that the auditor is spending and the team is spending in preparing the audit file, the documentation, etc. So a reasonable fee will be a function of 4-5 things. I can't put an amount here, but I will say the complexity, the volume of transactions, the quality of accounting, the quality of documentation, so that I can get my audit files prepared faster, and overall reliability of the financial statement, comfort on the management, comfort on the, is it an investable company? Will I put my money? Then there's a lot of green ticks. Then my audit should be smoother, because there is tone at the top which is saying that we will not tolerate any misstatement. There is no hanky-panky, which you come to know. As an auditor, you come to know. Transactions kaise ho rahe hai, documentation ka, what is the quality. If those are green ticks, then you can do a faster audit. The fee should be reasonable. If those are difficult, don't do the audit. Give it up. Don't try to defend somebody else's transactions. You are coming at the end of the year. Ideally, audit should be done throughout the year, right? At regular intervals, do interim reviews, etc. And ideally, be in touch with the client, know the business. Don't do an audit if you don't understand the business and if you don't understand the industry. First learn that, then you can really be a good auditor. So fees will be an outcome of all of these factors. Now, people charge 10 crore rupees also. Larger, complex organization, you charge well. So it's very related to size, output, throughput, and then there is a risk that you carry. The cost of doing audits have gone up tremendously. People cost, the technology cost, if you're using good tools, quality review cost. Generally, the organizational costs keep going up and up. Even post-COVID, traveling may have gone down 1 or 2 years, but now it's come back, right? The review cost. Then there's a risk that you take, the liabilities, right? So you take liability insurance. So when you start adding all of that, it's an expensive profession. And audit opinions are expensive in a lot of the larger countries. Countries where there's a lot of litigation. India is getting there. Right now, we're still at the beginning of it. But in my view, because audit is mandatory, there should be reasonability, but it cannot be cheap. And I would encourage chartered accountants and friends who are watching this that please charge well. Don't give away your opinion at a dirt price. It's not necessary. You are spending quality time. You're taking a lot of risks and liability. So you should be charging well, commensurate to what you think is fair for a particular client. I cannot prescribe a fee. It doesn't work that way. I'm just giving you some ideas, some ways to think. And then you'll get into the market. You'll realize where you are. Same thing now if I look at tax, right? Tax is grey cells. It's opinions. It's your experience, your expertise. One is a compliance practice. Other is an advisory practice. Advisory practice, you charge based on the value you deliver. That's the only way to charge. You can't do just an hourly rate and say, I've charged 2 hours, I've spent 2 hours, I'll charge you 2 hours into 10,000 rupees. That's not the right way.
How do you compute the value that you have delivered?
Correct. So that's something which you educate the client. For example, let's say there is a complex tax issue, right? You are solving it for him, you're saving taxes, you know that the value that you've created is not just for 1 year, it's for lifetime. So you should charge a good proportionate value. But remember, pre-agree the basis. In your engagement letter, you have to tell the client that this is my charging methodology. I'm going to charge you basis A, B, and C. Now, value, time, expertise, and you can always give a range. Lower range to upper range, an hourly rate range, an hours basis cap, and then you say overall so you can every client wants to know the fee. So you have to give him a range, but you can be in the higher of the range as well if you overspend time. And remember, taxation is one service, Kushal, that people need it now more than ever. Okay, there are a lot of transactions where people are not sure, and I'm talking about decent sized transactions, right? So you can charge well if you know your subject well. So again, if you look at if I were to draw a chart, if you're at the beginning of the thing on an axis, for basic services you can only charge so much. As you start getting more and more deeper into the organization, for example, PLI, basically profit-linked incentives and even production-linked incentives. So there are certain industries where the government gives production-linked incentives to companies. Now, if you are an expert in that industry, you should be able to make an application on behalf of your client and get money back from the government, where you can charge a very nice fee.
As a percentage of the money which is
It
given.
could be a percentage, it could be a fixed fee. Depends. Now, institute has some rules around it. You can't just charge contingent fees always. As an auditor, there are challenges. So, keeping institute rules, with you, you can charge a good fee, decent fee. I'll not go into percentages, but certainly, if you are saving 100 to the client, you should be able to charge 10 or 20.
Okay.
Because you are getting back fee. Government से पैसा, जैसे अभी FAME subsidy है for EVs, right? The government pays you for developing an EV vehicle, selling a 2-wheeler or 3-wheeler or 4-wheeler. Similarly, the government pays you for manufacturing, for creating, for basically producing. You're creating jobs, you're creating products. So the production linked incentives are meant for growing an industry. If you have the expertise, remember it's not easy. It's not a form filing thing. It's a very complicated process. Very few people understand. And out of there, very few people actually execute and successfully get PLIs back from the government. So you have to charge well for it.
So in a law firm, what I had heard was that one of my friends was working at a law firm. He was telling me that those law firms charge on a per hour basis and they bill like a very good amount of money to the clients and then they pay their employees and there's a good substantial margin which is kept over there. So in a CA firm, you can't charge on a per hour basis is what I understand.
No, one can. There's nothing that you can't. Of course, one can. One can. But, hourly rates are now... I'm not saying they are a thing of the past, but there's a different way to look at it. There's a new way to look at it. You add it as one of the items, but you say value delivered. And you already asked me that question, how is value delivered? So you need to be showing the client and educating the client what is the value of what you are saying. And then you charge accordingly. One of the elements could be time that you spend, obviously. But remember, somebody with 30, 40 years of experience, he may give an answer in 5 minutes. Will you pay him 5 divided by 60 into the hourly rate? It doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
It's his experience of 40 years where he can quickly solve a complex issue in 3 to 5 minutes. Somebody else may take 5 hours and not still reach 10% of that advice. So who is more valuable? And therefore, it is not just an hourly rate. It's a combination of value that you kind of deliver, which is a fair way to think.
Yeah, actually, you're right. This reminds me back of my articleship days. So when I was doing my articleship, one of the clients wanted a very expert tax opinion. And our partner, I think he had an experience of 40 plus years. Nice. And I was the one who was responsible for doing a lot of research and giving the opinion and all. And finally, I think we took a total of 5 days or 6 days to give a concise opinion. And I remember he had charged a total of, I think 1.5 lakhs at that point in time. And he had spent only half a day on that, just reviewing everything and all. So that was money for his experience and not for the half a day which he had spent.
Experience and intellect.
Yeah. Correct.
Because he's coming with solutions.
Yeah.
It's a fair ask.
And even in bank audit, I remember first year, second year and third year, it was a statutory audit of a cooperative bank. Sure. And it had some 100 plus branches. The first year I remember the firm had charged 25 lakhs, then it jumped to 40 lakhs. And then I think it became 55 lakhs or 60 lakhs in the third year. And that was again for the entire year assignment, depending on how many articles are allotted to that project and all.
So it's the effort. So commensurate. In fact, I recommend that chartered account should write in the engagement letter. That my basis of charging the fee, the basis of the fee, you have to disclose that. Keep it transparent, keep it open, and clients respect that. Of course, every CFO, every client wants to have a cap, wants to know what their fee, because rightly so he has to budget it. But you can give him a range. You can say, look, this is what I expect. But if my time and effort and value goes up, this is what I'm going to charge you. And 9 on 10, they will agree when they see the values delivered.
Right, I agree. Yeah. And let's say now the firm is there. Now the CA practice has started of 2 partners, assuming there are 3 partners.
Right.
So how many people, according to you, they should hire initially? Ki okay, इतने लोग hire कर लेते. That depends on the number of assignments. I agree. But starting with first 6 months, first 1 year, कैसे mindset होना चाहिए? कितने लोगों को hire करना है? कैसे responsibilities divide करनी है?
See, so again, it depends on what is the nature of the practice. Is it one service area, 2 service areas, all service areas, which means you'll have so many people working with you. So you will have a senior person for another service line. So typically there's no one size ratio. A sole proprietor may have 2-3 people and may have 10, 20, 30, 50 people also. But I would say you can't monitor so many people. So 1:8. Peter Drucker used to say, you can only have 6 or 7 or 8 direct reporters to be effective. Which means If you are one chartered accountant, you can maximum review 5, 6, 7 people's work. So that means if you need more people, which will be a function of more work you're getting, then you add more chartered accountants. And then you have assistants, you have articles. So typically the hierarchy is article trainees. They become associates, assistant managers, senior managers, directors. That's how mid-size, large-size firms have grown. But when you're starting off, you may not have so many kind of you don't need a hierarchy actually. It's a flat world. But still you will have people basis their experience. So a good ratio, 6, 7, 8, 9 people for every chartered accountant, assuming there's enough work. And then everybody starts progressing. That's the way to think. And you divide it, it's like a pyramid. Right? One CA has to have a senior manager, one or two managers, assistant managers, associates. It's like a pyramid. So then you start getting deeper and deeper and better as the seniority increases.
How is the hierarchy at KNAV? And it's a team of how many people, by the way?
So we're now almost 450 people.
Oh, wow,
growing.
450 people. Yeah. And how is the hierarchy?
So again, like I said, I love to have a flatter organization, but we still have articles, associates, article training, they become associates, assistant managers, senior managers, directors and partners. Okay. Now, one can climb it very fast, basis performance, basis outcome, basis. So it's really merit over everything else. If you perform, you can really grow faster, at least in our firm. And that's how we think it should be. It should be performance driven as a culture. Yes, experience matters. Spending time matters a lot. Loyalty matters a lot. But if you can get all that combination right, you should not worry about designations. I firmly believe that in every profession, you will be rewarded if you stay focused on this couple of things that I've mentioned. You keep doing good work, things will happen. You don't have to rush. See, today, I always like to take cricket analogy. Rohit Sharma sacrificed his opening position for KL Rahul because that guy performed in the first test match. Right? There was no reason for Rohit Sharma to say, I'll not open. I'm the captain. I was not there. Second game I came. He said, no, I'll go down at number 5 and number 6. Because this guy merited a performance. Similarly, in professional service engagements, you will get the right team members. Koi bhi designation ho. I may sometimes get my article trainee to work with me directly. I don't need a manager in between for a particular job. He or she understands my thought process. And I said, this is what I want to do. I don't need to waste the time of anybody else. And sometimes you get excellent results because you are trusting and empowering the individual. So you have to go beyond hierarchies. And I believe that that's how, if you trust your people and you let them free. Now, again, it's a leadership style. Not everybody does it. But if you can empower them, give them very clear instructions and directions, sometimes the youngest of the lot give you the most wonderful results. Just keep empowering them. That's how we think. And then, for those who stay in the firm, assuming you have created a culture where you can retain good people, reward them well, they will be with you. They are your partners in the firm. So when I interview or when I meet a candidate for discussion, my first thing is to see, is this a future partner for me? It may happen after a few years, but would like to believe that if he or she continues in the firm, he should have the ability to kind of raise the bar constantly. And then designations really don't matter. Koi farak nahi karta hai. So it does. So if I am in my office at 8:30 in the morning, there's hardly anybody there. But the guy who makes the best tea for us, Babu, he is there at 8:45, and I see that man working hard. I wish that I could do so much more for him. And the guy is always happy. He's always pleasant. So at his level, he's doing his best. Similarly, there are some kids who wake up early. So we have a training program that starts at 8 o'clock in my team, and I said, look, it's 8 to 10, not 10:30, not 11, 8 to 10. We'll have a nice breakfast, but I want 20 people in the room. Learning and development happens the best when you are fresh, not when clients are messaging you, you're talking. So again, there, everybody comes at 8 o'clock. We do a nice detailed training over 2 hours. Excellent open exchange, whether you're a partner, you are a first year article, doesn't matter. You give your best and you take the best. I love watching the CJI who retired, Justice Chandrachud. His discourses were so amazing. If you just look up YouTube, sometimes there were open sessions. You could see a Harish Salve arguing from London. You could see a Kapil Sibal arguing from Delhi, virtually during COVID times and now in person. And even though we may not be into law, but it's very fascinating to see how they say what they say.
These videos are publicly available on YouTube?
Some of them are. Okay. YouTube. Yeah.
So which channels are these?
Just YouTube. No, so the Supreme Court, some cases, some is live. It's available. YouTube mein dalte wo. So in fact, some of the Maharashtra government roadblock, the decision on Shiv Sena, who owns it, that's all live. If you go back and see, it's fantastic. You see the way the 5-bench constitution of Supreme Court, they argued, they heard the case, they gave their views, all the councils argued. It's a huge thing. Now it's something which, what I learned from there is how do you articulate? How do you present the point of view in a balanced way? How does the bench look at it? Similarly for tax guys, there are tribunal proceedings. Go and watch the tribunal. It's their life. You can go to the High Court when there's a taxes. You can go to Supreme Court. There are ways to enter there. And then that's how you learn jurisprudence. Learn from senior counsels how they argue. And when they speak, that it's not about just a technical thing. It's about how they create a case. So those are learnings. I used to go to tax tribunal back in the day, 30 years back during my articleship. Every other day, 10 o'clock in tribunal, we had to wait it out, we prepare briefs, and our seniors would argue. That's how you learn. That's true interpretation of tax law. And then you are sometimes hearing the other side. The department is saying something else, you are saying something, and how the accountant member or the judicial member in the tribunal, they give their views. So those are learnings. And then your seniors, just by observing them, you learn so much. So, learning, again, it's all about how you articulate, how you kind of analyze a tax rule, and then you conclude, right? Conclusion is you have to take a call. You may be wrong, but that's how you kind of make lesser mistakes and you learn with that. Don't make the same mistake the second time. Every firm, and I keep telling in my sessions that if you will make mistakes, learn from it and move on quickly. You may lose a game, right? That doesn't mean that's the end of if you heard, in tennis, Roger Federer was addressing a university after he retired. He said, my success rate was only some 54%. 46% of my points were wrong. But in 54% I won. I made so many games. Even in cricket, Rahul Dravid was saying that we leave so many balls and we make so many mistakes. But when you connect 50-60% of the time, we are good. So you will not get it wrong always. You will not get it right always. The firm has to have a culture of tolerance. And if you are focusing on that same thing, your probability of making mistakes or missing something will be low. That's how you become better and better. So that's why I say don't spread yourself too much. Focus on that one or two things.
I very much resonate when you said that, going to tribunals and high courts will teach you a lot. When I was doing my articleship, again, my boss used to take me to the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, ITAT.
Excellent.
And I used to just sit there on the last chair and I used to just see him observe the way he was arguing, the way the assessing officer was arguing, and then the judge forming a judgment and all. That was something I was I think I was 18 or 19 at that time. I was the youngest there in the room and just figuring out what is happening. But I think that taught me the way of communication and how he's speaking. So those things, I don't think any curriculum, be it CA, CFA, will teach you. That is something which you will learn by practicing.
Correct. The legal profession has this mock tribunals. So that's a moot court. They are very nice. And that's where you learn. You learn to argue the right way. Be patient. You have to learn. You have to listen very well. Sometimes we forget that we have to be very patient. Really listen what the other side is saying, and that's how you form a right view, and don't need to interrupt always. You have a good technical view, your view will be heard. That's how typically assessments will work.
You mentioned about a lot of tools that you are also using, and let's say if you're using some technology, you can also save a lot of your time. So what are some AI tools that you are using in your CA practice and how much time it is saving?
So I'll tell you, audit today with AI, life can be simpler. There are amazing tools available. One of the tools I remember our US audit team is called MindBridge. It's available on open source. It's of course a little expensive. One can subscribe for it, but you can do a lot more coverage, exhaustive coverage of financial transactions at a much faster pace, much more efficiently, so that your audit coverage is better and you are able to perform the audit efficiently. But you should write your scripts. You should know what you're asking. For example, in a pharma company, accounting for chargebacks, how do you make a provision? So you can only do that if you use AI efficiently. You'll do it much faster because you can't go through so many transactions. Similarly, there are audit automation tools.
How expensive is this MindBridge?
I don't know.
Okay.
We can check, but that's online. If one can go to mindbridge.ai, you'll get it. They may have an Indian version by now. I'm not sure.
So I didn't understand this exactly. So what exactly is this trying to solve? So
audit, right? See, we have to audit transactions. So let's say a pharma company. You're trying to audit revenue for a pharma company. Now, what is your sample size? Will you take a few months? Will you take how much you can't do everything, right? But when you use an AI tool, you can actually cover vast majority of the transactions by testing them. You will say, I'll test for variances, I'll test for returns, I'll test for chargebacks. So depending on where you see as part of your audit process, where are the risks, you can then test those areas completely. You're almost covering 100% of the transactions at a fraction of time. And that is happening today in every part of our profession. If you think of it, income tax softwares today have solved a lot of things, right? Accuracy is much better. You're not making computational errors. The return will not go through. It'll get checked. It'll stop at the computation. It'll show you errors, which means somewhere the math is not right. So you rectify that. Only then it goes forward. So technology is really solved. So it's a big problem. Some countries like Denmark and all, I'm told, you get the tax return from the government. You only have to say yes and file it, because all your transactions are known. Even in India, we're getting there. We're getting where with your PAN and with your Aadhaar and with all the interoperability of the systems, the tax technology is getting better and better. The government will give you a return. आपने सैलरी ली है, आपका TDS कट हो रहा है, you're getting a form 16 under 192, the employer is responsible to deduct the full tax on salaries. You give your declarations, etc. The old scheme, new scheme. Now your salary is anyway disclosed. You don't have to redo anything. Then there are other transactions. Now look at AIR. AIR and your 26 AIs, you get to know all your transactions, mutual funds, investments, foreign travel, सारा कुछ दिखता है उसमें. So it's just a question of putting it together. Interest, which you earn on fixed deposits and all, the banks can report it, and they report it when it's up to a particular value. So there's nothing that escapes. Therefore, when you file a return today, you're getting the 143(1)A intimations immediately. You're getting refunds immediately because there's nothing to ask. So chances are you won't even need to come into scrutiny because अगर आपने कुछ नहीं दिखाया है, you've not filed something properly, you have not disclosed it, that's the time you get a question. And remember, now it's faceless or assessments. So you are asked only limited scrutiny, only asked for certain transactions. So technology is pervading everything we do in accounting, in auditing, in taxation. Today there are tools available to interpret accounting standards. There are tools available to interpret opinions. There are enough tools available.
So what are some other tools apart from MindBridge? Can you name like some of the best ones?
So Idea, Caseware, I know my audit team uses. A lot of firms use them. There are a lot of tools available, Kushal, for documentation. The Indian auditing profession uses them. So there are documentation. I won't remember all the names since I don't practice audit myself. But if you go to the institute website, there are tools available where the institute has prescribed or institute says it's available at a lower cost or a very optimal cost, which is available for practicing chartered accountants to use. There are softwares for tax, for GST. Some of them are very common, eSaral, Taxman, GST, all of that. So use those standard ones. Don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are also tools for the comparables for databases. I know Provis is there, Capitaline is there. For transfer pricing, there are 2-3 other softwares, which anybody who's into practice would know because the department also uses them. So you don't have a choice. If you are into that practice, then you need that. You can always collaborate and take 2 or 3 licenses between 3 or 4 firms and share it. Whatever is allowed in their file sharing system. So today, one can very easily subscribe to good technologies and do the job faster.
That is an investment and not an expense.
Absolutely. You need it. It's like having a laptop, right? You can't work without a laptop.
Yeah. Now, let's say the CA firm has started and now they basically, we've discussed everything about how much to charge the client and how to set up a practice. But one of the major important discussions between the partners is the profit sharing ratio, which is there between all the partners. Right. And that is something like if let's say they are starting afresh, mostly that'll be equal, assuming if there are like 4 partners or 25% each partner, that will be the starting. But is there any framework that you suggest कि okay 4 partners अगर शुरू कर रहे हैं तो profit sharing ratio इतना होना चाहिए या तो कैसे incentivize करना चाहिए?
No, initially you start easily, equally looks interesting. As the firm progresses, right, equal ratios don't work for too long. You may be the best out of the 4 of us, okay? I may be the 4th, I may be the last. He may be after you, he's the 2nd best, he's the 3rd best, I'm the 4th best. How can I say I should get equal as you, right? So initially, okay, but as you grow, it's not about working with friends. It's about, in some sense, paying what the guy deserves. So you look at total contribution to the firm. Now, not everybody is good at everything. Some of us may be good very technically in our chosen service line. Some may be very good in branding, in marketing, in technology, in administration, finance, accounting, HR, all the functional areas of the firm. Ultimately, as partners, we only will do it. Who else will do it? When we reach a size, we get senior people from outside. We can hire people. But until then, as one is growing the practice, you make sure that everybody contributes to the firm in whichever way one can give the best. Once you do that, then you can allocate. That here is how the compensation should be structured. So what you're really asking is compensation. It doesn't have to be equal always. We may start equally, but at some point, people who contribute more should get more. right? And nobody should have a problem with that, because if Kushal is doing much better than the three of us, he deserves that higher one. It could be in terms of revenue or production. It could be in terms of profitability. It could be in terms of branding, developing the firm. So all of that matters. So it's about total contribution to the firm.
सो लेट्स से अभी प्रॉफिट शेयरिंग रेशियो तो ठीक है 25 इक्वल कर लिया 4 पार्टनर्स के बीच में. देन अगर फोर्थ वन बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है तो जितना रेवेन्यू उसने लाया उसका सर्टन परसेंटेज होगा उसको, या कैसे लाइक
No, see, the way to think, of course, there are various models. There is a eat what you kill model. जो करता है वो करे, but that's, you can't grow with that. There's a lockstep model as you become senior. So eat what you kill basically is an old model where you say that if I've got 100 and you have got 300, I should take 1/4 and you should take 3/4. But वो उसमें क्या है, it promotes, so you will not share work with me. It doesn't grow, right? It's not a recipe for growth. It's okay to start off similar. People with disaggregated practice can come and have that. But the real model, Kushal, that works is, I use the word total contribution. So you recognize everybody's efforts. See, not every chartered accountant will have similar output capacity, similar production capacity, similar technical skills, right? But you have to take them up. What happens in a larger partnership firm is everybody has a fixed pay, depending on their size of book of business, etc. Then there's a variable pay, where you say that if you exceed this, if you do this, you get a bonus, like a variable, and then you get a share of profit if you are an equity partner. That's a typical formula. So what happens typically is, when the firm is growing, profit pool may be a little lesser. Fixed pay is more. As you get bigger and bigger, fixed pay starts coming down. So if my total pay is 100, my fixed pay should only be 50-60%. 40% should be variable pay. But initially nahi ho sake. Initially it will be 80-90%. Then you bring it down to a point that really it shouldn't matter. You will make enough if the firm has grown to a particular size. To reach that stage, one should not think about only myself. One should think about how can I empower every partner, every senior manager, every manager in the firm. How can they contribute the best? So of course you have a compensation policy that rewards for performance. That is very important. The working capital should solve for itself. And then the unit economics, when I say in our context, right, there are some standards of small firm, mid firm, large firm. For example, your payroll cost should not be more than 20-25% when you're starting off, right? Which means 4x. Every individual should be able to generate, ideally 5-6x, but I would say nothing less than 4x. So if you're paying somebody 100, we should be able to generate 400 on him, because there is firm's cost, overheads, and then what is left is a small profit that the firm needs for growth and people take home. So keep that measure. So which means you can't have too many people for that revenue. Your revenue should be at least 4 to 5x of the people cost. Basic formula. Now that changes firm to firm. The bigger the firm, the costs are more. It can be 33% instead of 20-25%. It goes up to 35-40%. Now you have to control that and make sure that we are more efficient. We're charging well. We are producing smartly. Those are some basic unit economics challenge that one would do. Then one should look at reducing costs. Have a keen eye on operating costs. But yet invest in the right cost. Invest in technology. Invest in good people, invest in processes. That pays you dividend. You don't have to be in a physical office 5-6 days a week. Zarurat nahi hai abhi. You can still work from home, partly, have hybrid systems. This pandemic has taught us a lot of things. And therefore, you don't need to have an office desk for 100 people. You can have office desk for 30-40 people and call people 2-3 days a week, 4 days a week, depends on how much on-site requirement is there. Reduce on cost.
Do you have that similar policy in your firm?
We do have hybrid systems, yes. And it's worked well. You know, in a city like Mumbai, commuting is a hassle. Why would I get somebody over to the office all the 5-6 days? Kya zarurat hai? Kaam to ho hi raha hai. But yes, 1 or 2 days, 3 days, I need him. And that time, because there is interaction, there is something which, sometimes client meetings hoti hai, you need them. So obviously, but otherwise hybrid structure works beautifully. Now you should have processes to then monitor the project. You should have processes to make sure that delivery does not suffer. So that is a must. एक बार वो अपने process set कर लिए कुशल, then economics play for itself. Also keep a keen eye on overheads. Don't overspend. There are a lot of discretionary expense. Conference जाना है, travel करना है. Make sure the ROI is measured. There is no free lunches. Why waste time? आप online सुन लो. इतना अच्छा कंटेंट, बट अगर आप जा रहे हो तो नेटवर्किंग करो, मीट न्यू पीपल, talk about, that's why the marketing happened. I mentioned marketing at the beginning. So you don't go and pitch to everybody. You have conversations, and through your conversations, and I believe in this concept of no second chance. If if I'm meeting you for the first time, I should have meaningful conversation such that you want to talk to me. Okay, I'm not discussing weather and I'm not discussing traffic. मैं negative क्यों बात करूँ? Why should I talk anything about my profession? I should talk about your business. Say what, and I should mentally be able to very clearly articulate how I can help you. So that's economics for us. Then my firm will sponsor me in a program, in a conference, in an event. Okay, I am getting something back. If you're traveling, now I know it doesn't come naturally. I like to talk to my co-passengers, understand what they are doing. For me, in a flight, I meet so many people. Some of them are clients today. I just met them on a plane, a 2-hour Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Bombay, and you become friends. And doesn't have to be that way. But the more networked you are, the more people you meet, and if you are having meaningful conversations, they will come back to you. It's not that you know everything, but you get your senior partners, your other partners, your colleagues who understand that subject. And that's how growth happens. Lastly, I will say the time for an execution of an engagement. That उसमें भी बहुत economics है. Efficiencies are there. One has to measure that. One has to say that if I spend 100 hours on an audit last year, if the business is same, can I do it in 80 hours this year? Can I do it in 70 without compromising quality, without compromising on my audit documentation, without taking any more risk? In fact, doing the same audit much better, much more efficient, and that's how you make money. So I deploy lesser time, lesser resources, which means the same guy can do more work. You don't have to employ somebody else. So your profitability has to go up if you do it smartly. So these are the basic tenets of professional service economics one has to learn. Always say Indigo Airlines makes money in the same aviation ecosystem that we have, right? Some other airlines didn't make money and they lost out. Because Indigo says, for me, the planes have to be in the sky. They can't be sitting in the airports. So the turnaround time is the lowest in the industry. In the sense, every 22 or 26 minutes when a plane lands and takes off, they have the best time, subject to air traffic, etc. But the pushback time is much faster. And therefore, because their efficiency is about, if you have observed, they figured out that you don't have to have a very fancy technology system. You have a great technology, but boarding card instantly bahar aana chahiye. Quickly check in, quickly board people. You don't have to have one person climbing up. You have a walkway. So 2 or 3 people can go together. Everything is about time, cleanliness, etc. And therefore, they put the plane 8 times in the sky, 9 times in the sky. Everybody else is at 6 and 7. The aviation economics is the more the plane is in the sky, the more money you make. At 6 and 7, you don't make money. You make money 7.5, 8, 9 rotations. The same sky, the same civil aviation industry, the same flying public. But here is an airline which is proven. So in such a complex industry, if they've got the economics right, we are not doing too complex. We can get our economics right if we just think about it. We have to apply ourselves and just open mindset. And then economics will play for itself.
Yeah, that Indigo example was super interesting and fascinating. Just coming back to the unit economics part of a CA firm. So you mentioned one of the things that the payroll cost should not be more than 20-25% of the revenues.
Ideally.
So, ideally, correct. So what would be the unit economics of a CA firm look like? Like 100 is the revenue, 20-25 is the payroll cost. What are the other costs? And usually how much is the profit margin?
So 50%. At a smaller firm level, you should at least profit before partners' RAM should be 50-55%. Otherwise, something is not right. As you grow, the 50-55 will start going down, become 48, 45, 40, 35. Depends. And also, it depends the size and scale, right? So at a very starting level, if you don't have anybody, 100% is your profit. कोई खर्च आप घर से काम करो, there's very limited cost, right? 5-10%, 95% gross margin. But as you grow, it'll come down. It'll come down to 55. If you have more people, there's rental, there's overheads. So I would say again, unit economics changes as the firm grows. Gross margin changes. But I would say 60, 65, 70% gross margin should be targeted.
Okay.
It can't be any lesser, which means you can't have too many people. Okay, at 70%, you'll have a good bottom line. At 60, 65%, you'll have stretch. If you are 50, 55%, certain firms have that because there are too many people. Then you are very large. Then even the 20, 30% is a very large number. So you have to aspire to get there. But initially, it should start with this.
And the major cost would be the salaries, rentals, and like
overheads. Typically, subscriptions, technology, travel, knowledge management, learning and development. See, the more you invest in people, मुझे ये desk से कोई फर्क नहीं गिरता. It doesn't. I just need peace of mind in a laptop. I can operate from anywhere. Okay, we used to go in trains in articleship, and we would that time there was no laptop, and if I had to read, I'll just read it standing in the train. You don't need right now we have fancy desks, fancy offices, best environment. There's no reason why one can't be optimal. You just be focused. I can't look at WhatsApp or I can't look at a cricket score and say I'm very functional. Once in a while you take your breaks. I can't be attending every call that I get. You educate your clients to call you. So it's about being personally effective. Peter Drucker always taught that the effective executive, if that's a book that people can read, it's a fantastic publication on being effective as an executive. If you are effective, the world will be effective. You will make them learn. So those are some learnings that people should kind of absorb when you are running a professional service firm. And then if you are disciplined, see, I may respond at 5 in the morning. Doesn't mean that you have to respond at 5. You respond when your normal business hours. People have travel time efficiencies. You have prioritization. You prioritize the important tasks. Don't go after the easy stuff, which your team should be able to do. You look at the more complex stuff, answer it timely. And timely means timeliness. Today, clients expect a 24 hours response time. You can't say, "मैं Wednesday का email Monday को answer दूंगा." It doesn't work. You have to give within a reasonable time frame. And responsiveness means that you are professional about it. Those are some basic things which are, again, very, very relevant. If you don't know the answer, no worries. Somebody else should know. If he doesn't know, some third part. If nobody knows, then you should not be doing that work. Then please pass it on to a firm that knows. And if you know it, don't keep it to yourself. Answer it there and then. Now, those are some basics. Now, I have an habit of responding within the hour. Doesn't mean that you have to do it. Somebody will do it very quickly. Somebody will do it very slowly. The firm has to have a balance around it.
One of the biggest problems I feel that people make or people are not aware of is that they don't communicate a lot. So you're absolutely right when you say that. Let's say, like, I think over communicating is something which people should learn. Even if, let's say, there's a delay in the timeline or delay in like some of the deadlines, just inform the client, and that is something which will be.
Payments are not going to fall.
Right.
Balance sheet कल चली जाएगी. And it's a public company and deadline and all. Private companies वगैरह में there's no deadline. But yes, you should have can't be having an excuse every time. If you are getting late, inform the client.
Exactly.
Tell him this is the reason. Be truthful about it. Be honest about it, and do it in a timely way. That's all. If I am coming to your podcast at 7:30, I should let you know. I am late. I'm not saying traffic, but मैं 7:30 के पहले नहीं start. So I owe it to you. That's out of respect, out of professional respect and courtesy. That's a courtesy that clients will also show it to you. I remember, Kushal, 31 years back, income tax department हम लोग जाते थे assessments के लिए, right? 11 o'clock was the hearing. You get a hearing slip. Okay, 11 o'clock, please come and attend. I would show up at 10:55, wait there till 11:10. If the officer doesn't call me inside, I'll leave a note. I was here, sir, waiting for you. I need to go for another appointment. Here is my phone number of the office. Kindly have your office call me to reschedule. अब 2 बार वो कीजिए, वो चिढ़ेगा, लेकिन next time आपको 11 बजे अंदर लेके जाएगा. That's how you do. You train the officer that I am not here all day and I have no other work. I'll go back to my office. I'll come back the second time. That's how you earn respect. You command respect. बोला ये कौन था? Article training था, ऐसा बोल के गया. Next time he'll say कि, but remember, you should know your technical stuff. Then people start respecting you. That's how we were trained. Don't stay. Don't wait. Don't half an hour तो बहुत दूर है. 5-10 minutes. That's it. 10 मिनट I understand कुछ होगा. But that time, next time his office will call you to reschedule कि आज सर नहीं आने वाले हैं. आज सर को कमिश्नर ने बुला दिया. Whatever may be the reason, right? Don't waste my time, boss. I am not free. There is a value to my time. I may be an associate. I may be a manager. Whatever I may be. You have asked for a hearing at a particular time. Please be ready for that. I am there for 10 minutes. I am not going to spend my time. वो अब 2-3 बार कीजिए and then you see what happens. You may be the biggest officer in the country. Doesn't matter. You have to respect time.
Yep. If, let's say, someone wants to start their CA practice, according to you, how much capital should they need?
Nothing. You don't need capital. You don't need capital at all. When I say that, I'm giving it with as a metaphoric answer. See, remember, you don't need machinery and land. You don't need huge fancy offices. You can be in a shared office, minimum rental, which should also come from your first month's revenues. Yes, you will need some investment for people and all, but assuming you are hiring people means there is work. So if you see the unit economics, loss नहीं होता है हमारे profession में. There is no loss. You're not castle building and creating a big team and then waiting for work to come. It should be other way around. As you get more work, you start hiring more people. So typically you don't need much capital. Very basic from in the A cities and all, rentals are high, etc. You need some money there. Otherwise, yes, if one will need investments for buying firms, as you grow bigger and bigger, those are different kind of scenarios which you should invest. You should invest in technology. But assuming that you've done your practice well, you should be able to reinvest your profits in growth. This is one profession where entry barrier is low.
Yeah.
Don't need deep capital. You need intellectual capital. You need investment in yourself. That's all you need. If somebody understands intellectual capital, the rest is easy.
Yeah, that's a brilliant answer. I love this. So I also read in a news article that Nikhil Kamath has invested in KNAV, and I just wanted to understand from your lens that why will a person invest in a services business?
See, it's not about a particular investor. It's about, look at a professional service firm. This annuity of income. Income typically goes up. If you're doing well, it's profitable. Cash flows are determinable. So it's a fixed cycle, right? This is India mein to shuru ho raha hai. US and all has been there for ages. In fact, last 5-7 years, a lot of investments have happened. There is no better profession than our profession if you think of it, in terms of predictability of revenues, cash flows. So what does an investor want? The investor wants growth. Investor wants cash positive businesses. You can't have a fancy EBITDA, but niche loss hai. Okay, that works in some businesses. In a professional service firm, assuming people are doing reasonable efforts, the firm will grow. So it's a highly investable profession. And no wonder people are looking at investments in this. Whether it's A, B, or C, I firmly believe that capital cannot be a constraint for growth. Not in our profession. If you work smartly, enough capital is available. Banks are willing to give you loans. Partnerships exist. Senior partners want to invest in the businesses. Junior partners will learn as they save, they'll invest. And the investors would want to invest. So it's become a trend.
So what was your interaction with Nikhil Kamath like?
No, excellent. I mean, he's a great guy, as we all know. I mean, look at his podcast, look at everything he's done. He has a great sense of, businesses that are growing. So his appetite is about which are the next, if you look at themes, right? So much like a lot of smart investors, he will look at a theme-based investment. And the way one thinks about it is that, can I rely on these guys? When I do my angel investing, I do the same thing. So the principles don't change. If a Warren Buffett or a Charlie Munger, etc., if they've taken bets on businesses, they've looked at longevity of businesses. Similarly, in India, when someone like Nikhil looks at businesses, he will say, is this investable? Is this a theme that'll grow? The India consumption story, with technology, with ambition, with passion of the founders. Can I back this founder? That's a simple philosophy. So we call it in our firm, we call it people, opportunity, context, and deal when we do an evaluation. So there should be a green tick on the people. Obviously, you're backing the founders. There should be a green tick on the opportunity. Is this solving some problem? Is this business scalable? What is the industry looking like? And this I'm talking not just accounting, I'm thinking general, right? So that can be contextualized to even professional service world. Where is the opportunity and where can this grow to? Then context. Why am I investing today? What is the shift? What is the moat? What is the competitive strategy? Why should I invest in this business or this firm? And then finally, the deal, the valuation, what am I getting versus when can I exit? Am I a long-term investor? So people look at each of these 4 factors and then come to kind of decisions. So let me tell you one example. I was meeting somebody in the government the other day, flying with somebody, and the government has so much of work for professionals, which professionals don't even know. I'll take one example. The Kerala Infrastructure Fund had a tender for a diligence project, for some large diligences that they were doing. One of our lawyer friends brought it to us and we did a joint bid. We have not still understood who is winning, whether we won the bid. But like this, every state government and the central government has so many things which they want good service providers. Chartered accountants are excellent at that. One has to go after it. Look at banks, look at insurance companies, look at...
Just on this, what exactly is the work that
diligence. So due diligence, financial diligence, tax diligence. Okay. So let's say the fund wants to invest. It could be any fund, right? They want to invest in a business. So they want to invest in an infra company. So they want somebody to go and diligence it. Theek hai ki nahi, main dalu ki nahi paisa. What are the risks? What are the pitfalls? So you, as a chartered accountant, assuming you have some experience on diligences, you can do wonderful financial and a tax diligence. work with lawyers, get legal diligence done. So I'm just taking Kerala infrastructure as one example. Like these, if one just looks at, there are opportunities everywhere. It's a function of am I open, am I watching the market? And that's where one should do. I would run international much later. Yeah, of course, there's growth everywhere possible. India to the world to India, offshoring वगैरह तो हो ही रहा है. But from a modeling perspective, India में इतना growth है today. The people are coming back today. Look at becoming 5 trillion. We'll soon be third largest, and that just brings so much over. It's about institutionalizing financial practices, and that's the large opportunity. Look at wealth management, for example, right? I look at the financialization of Indian savings of Indian consumers. They'll keep investing in products, in mutual funds, etc. etc. Now, there are wealth managers who do what they do. Why can't somebody do nice tax planning for them? Why can't somebody look at if lowering effective tax rate as a solution? So you keep productizing, and then it's a huge market. One doesn't have to just file the tax returns. One doesn't have to just do the advance tax. 15 December, I'm doing advance. That's okay. But do I know the plan of the family? Can I do succession planning concept? Can I do tax planning across family members? Real estate planning? So many things I can do in a family-owned business, and which it just needs a good advisory mindset and a tax mindset, and one can do wonders. Every family needs you. So when you said no, 2 client कैसे लाएंगे? 2 नहीं, आप 2000 client ला सकते हो. Look at the population. Look at the wide diaspora. You'll be tired of traveling. So have the right people with you, grow them, and then and one doesn't have to charge explosive numbers. You don't have to do that. One can do very smartly and still have good billings, reasonable billings, which one feels satisfied about. And then you grow in a trajectory. There is no hockey stick growth. It's a grow in a trajectory, grow to, and I think accounting profession will reward you if you stay true to the basics. I know a lot of senior chartered accountants, a lot of friends in the profession, far senior, they've done so well for themselves. Now, not everybody has to run after hourly rates, targets. कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. You decide your game and be the best at it. That's the way to think.
So you have operations across 7+ countries now. So I think this is a very relevant question for you as well. So if someone is starting their CA practice in India, by sitting in India, what are some countries and opportunities that they can work with just by being in India?
Sure. Look at G7, look at G20, look at 50 out of the 200 countries where English-speaking good countries, they'll all want to work with India. Service providers, we all know China is for manufacturing, India for services. So accounting, definitely. Back office services, financial outsourcing services. Then really, it's not about working for them. It's about having, belief in your ecosystem. Let's say a bank, right? A typical bank will open so many bank accounts. किसका account खोलते हैं? Individuals and businesses. Indian and foreign. If you work with a bank and you say, this is what I can do, banks will refer work to you. You don't have to go outside. बैठे आएगा. But you should be understanding what a bank is saying. You should know what the foreign customer needs. That's it. Service them well. Even at the risk of repeating this, the focus is so critical, which is where people don't go up the value chain. They're trying to do too many things. Then you never have time to attend what Modi ji is saying, or the ministers are saying, or what the foreign secretary is saying, or foreign minister is saying. If you listen to them, you will see the data. RBI publishes data of FDI. The External Affairs Ministry publishes a lot of investment, a lot of delegations that happen. People come to India. You have to show up at events. That's how you meet, and that's how work will come to you.
So any specific countries where opportunities for CAs are higher? Like let's say Dubai, mein the taxation regime is changing.
Huge. Absolutely. You hit the nail there. Dubai is great. It's next door. Africa is there. Australia is there. US is there. UK is there. But remember, everybody is going to these countries. Again, you find your moat. I would start with one country and try and first play your game. Where is your game? And then you expand. There's no need to rush. That doesn't work. People have tried and not grown forward because you're doing too many things again. I would say India itself is a huge oyster. वो करने के बाद India में you will get these companies and then go to their country. Instead of trying to go everywhere and say अभी कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. See, people will not give you work because you have come and met. People will give you work when they see value. So you deliver value, you will get work. A doctor or an entertainer, today, Bryan Adams is here, right? People will go and pay to Coldplays and Bryan Adams any amount that you charge, because that's his music, that's his art. So he is touring because he has no choice. बट आज हम इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया है, आप सुबह उठ के देखोगे ना, अगर वो 4:30 5 o'clock की भी गेम्स होती, यू बिकॉज यू लव इट. सो देर इज द वर्ल्ड विल कम टू यू, content is there, knowledge is there. Clients look at India very differently today. You have to up the game and say, I'm the best guy for you. Very smartly, and then that's it. And then you go out and develop. So, pehle but basic kijiye. What I keep hearing in the market is, how do I open something overseas? You don't need to open anything overseas. पहले आप इंडिया में तो ठीक कीजिए, वो करेंगे तो ऑटोमेटिक ओवरसीज हो जाएगा. That's how I think.
Right. So let's say if you are charging 1x in India to the clients, how is it different in different countries? Like US में कितना कर सकते हैं, 5x, 10x? कैसे
वैसे नहीं होता है. So that's not the right way to think, Kushal. See, what happens is, obviously the dollar is 84 rupees. So you can't, there's a purchasing power parity. A bottle of Coke, okay, in India will be 15 rupees. It's like 99 cents or $1 there. So there's a parity there. A PPP is 4 or 5 or 3 or whatever that be. So the dollar, you can't equate professional services by hourly rates which are different in India versus US. The cost of living is different, standard of living. The way to think is, am I qualified to operate in the US? Am I licensed there? If I'm licensed there, I should live there. I should then move there. I should do professional service there. Yes, accounting outsourcing होता है, but उसमें फिर hourly rate हो जाती है. $18, $10, $15. Again, there, what's the game you are playing? So again, I go back to this whole point of risk versus reward. Obviously, if you are sitting in India and you work overseas, you will get a better charge out rate. The question is, are you competent to get that? Lawyers do that very well. But again, everybody say we are restricted to the Indian law. Similarly, if I'm licensed overseas, great. But I'm not licensed overseas, I cannot give overseas advice sitting here. I may be going wrong. I may be misleading somebody. Even tax, very complicated. US tax, Australian tax, UK tax, very complicated. So either you focus and then go all way. फिर खाली वही करो, because if you start doing that, you can't do a lot of other things.
So one of my friends actually, he was telling me that he charges rupees 5,000 for filing one income tax return of an Indian client, and he, by sitting in India, he also files income tax returns of people who are in the US. And he was telling me that he charges 60,000 rupees per client for filing the same income tax return, which takes the same amount of time. And these are Indian residents, like Indian citizens who are settled in US.
Right.
So I was just trying to compare that. By sitting here only, he was now trying to focus more on US clients, because they are paying like almost 12x as compared to what the Indian client is paying.
It's very relative. ऐसे बहुत कम लोग हैं. I'm assuming he understands US taxation.
Yeah.
Therefore, he is able. So it's an investment that he has done. Correct. He's just living in India, but he's actually a US accountant. So it's like this, let me take a simple example. If I'm a surgeon, I can even operate in a UK hospital. If I'm licensed, I can go there and work. Why will I operate in an Indian hospital? Look at a heart surgery as an example. If the cost here is $3,000-4,000, where cost is $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. Same ही हो गया ना, if you think of it. Yeah. It's my ability to operate. If I can run that practice sitting here, great. I would say full kudos to him. But remember, risk versus rewards. He should be then updating himself. He should be licensed. He should not do things which are not for a licensed person. So you basically do what you're allowed to do. If you are doing that, then that's a great model. Certainly. And then the whole profession opens up. ICI has, so many programs around it. One can attend those programs and learn where is the profession heading. Look at AI in accounting as an example. We have a digital accounting standards board, which has got standards, okay, for a lot of use of technology and all. One can specialize in that. It's a great field. Even international people come to us to learn. There are a lot of international conferences that happen, but one should take the pain and understand what is the Digital Accounting Standards Board saying, what are they really, where are they taking the profession to? And then one can be a technology service provider to accounting firms in India and overseas. Very few people are doing that. And there you are combining technical knowledge, which your auditing and accounting knowledge, which your accounting profession knowledge. So that could be an excellent area. When an Infosys does technology for banks, they've productized a Finacle, for example, right? And they keep earning revenues, subscription model, SaaS model. Similarly, what has Clear Tax done? They're solving a real problem. They are tax return by 5,000 rupees. They may be doing for 1/3 of it or 1/4 of it or free, right? So you can use technology and do wonderful products, and it could be for any country. And then you can charge. If you know the law of that country, you know how tax returns are done. Why not? So accounting profession में 3-4 चीज सब कर ही सकते हो globally.
Yeah.
But I see the opportunity in cross border. If one has a base and knowledge and understanding, absolutely the world is your oyster. There's so many countries which are very, like you can, Russia. I know wars वगैरह चल रही है, and Japan. We know firms who focus on that.
Meaning?
So basically, you work with those. Like you should know the knowledge. You should know the systems there. You should know the language there, and you are their preferred service provider sitting here. There are firms who focus on certain sectors, जैसे insurance industry, right? Now I only work with insurance companies and reinsurance companies in the insurance sector. I'm the best at that. There are firms who focus on entertainers. There are firms who focus on a particular segment and be the best at it. So that's like vertical, and horizontal in some way, but really vertical expansion in that I want to be the best at this. I took the PLI example. So similarly, you can pick any country and then wear the hat saying that I understand this country. I travel there enough. I'm licensed there. I speak with authority. And then people will want to learn from you. Look at economists, right? Economists who are Indian economists will talk about India, but they understand economy of the world. A US economist will have a global view. Similarly, Indian accountants can have a global view. You got to learn, you got to have that deep passion to learn, understand. You have to be able to compare the accounting language in every country. That's how you keep getting better and better. It's an investment of time and patience and efforts. Nothing happens overnight. International tax, Kushal, वो तो आपके सामने है. India has signed double tax avoidance treaties with 78 plus countries. Pick up those treaties, learn that, and then you can advise clients lock, stock, and barrel. There's an amazing set of professionals who practice international tax in the country. That's an amazing area. And it'll take you deeper and deeper into the tax profession. Very, very niche, very technical. Lot of interesting transactions have happened. And one can, if one spends time and efforts investing in subjects like these, one can get good dividends.
Have you worked with any of the celebrities or entertainers, and how was your experience?
Yeah, we do keep working. No, amazing guys. See, everybody who makes good money needs advisors, right? They have great cash flows. Again, they have expectations that you will cover their back. You will ensure that any litigation with GST, income tax, you are there to handle it because you advise them well, implement the advice well, and then handle things. As long as you do it the right way, by just entertainers, any high net worth individual or even an industrialist, right? Even a corporate. So celebrities have a unique thing. They don't want to be in the news for the wrong reason. I'll not name anybody, but sometimes the tax guys are aggressive. Some departments are aggressive. So you want to make sure that you've taken reasonable positions under law so that you don't have ad backs and additions, you don't have to fight litigation. Yeah. And you advise them on doing the transactions well. So certainly, and again, this is very specialist advice. It's very, very special because there are nuances of international work that they do. They do shows, movies, projects, joint ventures, investments. So you should be at the upper edge of the curve and be able to advise.
How did you crack these celebrity clients?
I won't say crack, Kushal. It's like one led to other.
Like word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth. I mean, you get referred, right? Yeah. It's like, a knee surgeon will say, यार आपने ये 3 knee ठीक किया तो और 10 कर लो. So they all talk to each other. It's a small world. Even unicorn founders, startup founders, industrialists, CEOs, there's a clubs, right? You got to open the door and door will open for everybody. The question is, are you competent to advise them? So you start small. Again, to answer how you do it, focus. Focus on a particular segment and the world opens up.
Yeah.
There's no rocket science there. Rocket science.
So we started our discussion with GST. So let's end our discussion with the new avenues of practice for CAs now. So apart from GST, direct taxation, international taxation, transfer pricing, what are some, even M&A tax and all, what are like some unconventional paths which CA practitioners can take in the future?
So let me start with my favorite one, SME consulting. Okay. And I'm not talking about MSME and SME credits and benefits and loans, वो सब नहीं. think advisory. Yeah, that's what I do with a passion. You got to be able to advise a business on growth. You got to be able to advise a business on strategy. Doesn't come naturally to everybody, but remember, you as a chartered accountant know the businesses, know the processes much better than most. Only the founder and the CEO knows his stuff, but you can come in with an external financial view and say these processes need to be improved. Here is where you're going wrong. There's no business plan. There's no deck. There's no strategy here. Here is how I will help you to get fixed. I'll fix it for you. I will design a plan for you which will help you to grow. I'll then monitor that plan and then I'll raise the capital for that. And I'll make sure that you keep growing and growing and doing better. So that's something which is untapped. Some people do it well. Some people try to do it, but that can be done very well. We call it advisory. Then, I would just say hygiene checks in India, especially. There are so many non-compliance that happen, labor laws, provident fund. People don't get it. It's not easy. You leave it to payroll firms. But when it comes to diligences, you see the cracks there. So again, accounting firms with a legal bent of mind, I would say do your law, become lawyers as well. The professionals stop you from learning law. And then advise clients on legal hygiene, data room readiness. These are some amazing products that one can do. See, transactions will happen. Most businesses will need capital sooner rather than later. That time you can be in readiness, IPO assistance, IPO readiness assistance. These are some areas where some firms are doing well. A lot of firms are not really doing it. So advisory services, accounting advisory, business advisory, this are great. Then again, specialist areas. I've already mentioned a few. Let's take a vertical. Let's say, look at the stock markets. Right? Everybody invests there. We all invest. Now, how do you really account for a transaction there? Should I just wait to download statements from the mutual fund, from the AMC, and then do a capital gain entry? That's not the right way to think. Can I go trade by trade? Now, that's very cumbersome. But can I use technology and have a system in place where my monthly accounting happens for all the transactions for the month? I do my own accounting with the trade, and then I compare what the AMC sends me, and that's how you reconcile. There are leakages there. Now, that's again a very interesting way. You go deeper and deeper, and you will see there are faults. You can advise clients on that. Look at doctors, medical professionals. Now, their needs are very different. They collect a lot of money every day in consulting. I'm talking about consultants, right? Sometimes they get money in cash. Now, you have to advise the doctors that this cash has to go in the bank, either the same day or the next day. You can't use that cash for something else. So, you have to educate your clients. And there are senior surgeons, doctors who love that. They said, yeah, pura kar lo hai. So, there is a virtual CFO offering that one can offer for medical professionals. Similarly, SMEs may, and then you go up the value chain. I'm saying SMEs in a metaphor way. One can go to any business, but larger business will have their own setup teams. For chartered accountants, you can enter into these areas and then you start see, again, one size doesn't fit all, right? You say, isme kya hai? To hum kar hi rahe hai. It's about the passion with which one advises a client. That is what kind of brings up. And remember, good audits, I would rate quality audit. Conducting it well, as good as a great advice or a great tax opinion. And it's sometimes the audit profession is not credited for all of this, which is the fallacy in our system. It's a thankless job. Nobody will remain as auditors if the overreach continues in this way. Of course, there's a balancing that's required. So I would say, if somebody is bowling 10 overs at a stretch versus somebody and taking 3 or 4 wickets, somebody hitting a century, both should be equally credited, right? We sometimes don't credit our bowlers as much as we credit the batsmen. Similarly, there's a lot of glamour in the profession about doing certain things. Believe me, accounting is a boring, dry profession if one thinks that way. But if, say, the glass is half empty versus half full, you can make it very interesting by giving interesting advice. Be with the client, and the client values you. If you are with the client, can you be the trusted advisor? And that is one thing which chartered accountants can do really well at, be really good at and do much better. And once you are a trusted advisor, you are the first port of call.
Right. You seem to be a very diehard cricket fan. All the analogies. Yeah. That was a good one. I think this was super insightful. बहुत सारे avenues पता चले, बहुत सारे interesting insights पता चले. Last thing, what is one important thing that we didn't discuss today according to you?
I think profession, we've discussed everything. I say work-life balance a topic we should discuss it at some point. I don't want to discuss it right away. There are divided views. In my view, there is no work-life balance necessary. It's just very basic. If you're passionate about it, no. Really, hours don't matter. You can do in 20 hours, you can do 100 hours. Output will come if you're passionate about your work.
What time do you usually start your day at?
Around 8ish,
Wow, and end at?
4, 5, 6.
Depending
Yes,
on
yeah,
the...
and then of course you keep your calls and yeah, but so balancing is about liking your work. I put it this way: you prioritize. There's family time, there's leisure time, there's personal health, personal time, and business and clients. You prioritize, and then I think one can lead a decent kind of professional life without compromising on any personal time.
Right. No. Thank you so much, Vaibhav, for your time. It was super insightful.
Sure.
I hope I could do justice to your time as well, but this was very, very amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me over, Kushal. I've seen some of your podcasts. You're doing some fantastic work, and look forward to further interactions. If anybody in the audience who sees this has a question, please route it over. Happy to help. My only comment to our chartered accountant friends is that please do your best in advising your clients to be on the right track. Be fearless, and the profession is at an inflection point where you can do really, really well. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
So this side I will give back to the guest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया होगा तो आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू शेयर इट विद ऑल योर फ्रेंड्स एंड सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल सो दैट वी कैन गिव यू मोर वैल्यू एडिटिव कंटेंट इन द शॉर्टेस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम. हमको ये बताइए कि आपको कौन से काइंड ऑफ गेस्ट चाहिए, हमको ये बताइए कि कौन से क्वेश्चंस मुझे नहीं पूछने चाहिए थे, कौन से क्वेश्चंस मुझे और पूछने चाहिए थे ताकि आपको और ज़्यादा वैल्यू मिल सके, और कौन से ऐसे पार्ट्स हैं जो आपको बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आए ताकि हम लोग ये पार्ट्स ट्रिम कर सके फ्यूचर एपिसोड्स में. सो थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन फॉर वॉचिंग दिस एपिसोड एंड कीप शेयरिंग ऑल आवर एपिसोड्स विद योर फ्रेंड्स एंड कीप गिविंग अस फीडबैक so that we can improve and come up with better quality content.